Hello everybody and welcome to the MTDCNC live stream. It's our first at MACH and I have the honour of opening this with John Drover, the sales director from Hexagon. So we're going to start off by having a little interview with John, finding out a little bit more about the company, and then we're going to be handing over to the team behind us. We're going to be talking about what they have on their stand. Lots of technology, new technology. It's been 4 years since the last MACH. How are you feeling?
Good morning, Lindsay. Good morning, all the viewers. Yeah, I mean, 4 years, it's a long time. You know, obviously, events in the world have changed the way we've been doing things. So for us, it's great, to come back to this show. It's such an important show for us, such an important show for you guys. You should come and see this show. It's really, really important. And so what we've done this time really is we've gone for a much simpler stand and we're just showing some of the newer technology. So ultimately, Hexagon is well known for a lot of our products, but we've got a few new technologies on the stand as well now. So yeah, come and have a look at these technologies because they're very, very interesting, and we'll see some in a minute, obviously. Yeah. But for us, this show is so important. It's a premier show for our industry, for manufacturing. So it's so important that people come and see this, because in 4 years, technology moves forward so quickly. And so, you'll see a lot of new stuff at this show that you've not seen before. So it's really important you come and have a look at what we've got. And for us, this is our shop window. This is our ability really to show you in the flesh. It's great, you can see things online and in brochures and videos, and technology is great, but sometimes come and see it, talk to our guys. We have all our experts, all our engineers here that can really talk to you about some of the issues you may have that we can help you with. And the thing to remember with Hexagon is we're more than just a metrology company. We're renowned for that. We're known for that with some of the brands we have, our CMMs and our arms, our trackers and Leica, and great brands, great products. But we're also more. We're a company that can really support you from all your smart technologies, right from the beginning, from design, simulation, right through to the CAD/CAM, to the machine tool probing, measuring, in-process measuring, then obviously final solution measuring, and even right down to SPC and analysis and things like that. So we can support you through your entire manufacturing process as a business.
It's quite interesting because quite a few of us have asked you and said, what are some of the stumbling blocks that you come up against? Because there's so many different sizes of companies that are watching now. Who are you supporting? I think I know the answer, but how do you attack each company differently?
Every company has its own challenges, whether you're a big blue chip company, whether you're a small SME or a startup business. We have different levels of technologies within different price brackets to suit different people. But we also help you right at the beginning. We have a facility in Silverstone, which is our subcontract facility, and that was designed originally to support startup businesses that want access to this technology, but perhaps don't have the capacity or the capability or even the skills people to use this equipment or the budget to buy that. So they can come to us and we'll actually measure their parts for them. We'll create the programs, we'll measure the parts, we'll help them through the design process of their new product or technology. And then eventually when their business grows, they're then in a position to say, right, now we want to make that investment. So we will support these start-up companies. So even if you don't think you've got the budget, we can still help you to get into this technology, which will take your business forward. And then as you grow, we will help you as you develop and grow as a business. So whether you're a big blue chip or a small company, we will always help you whatever way we can.
I can absolutely back this up as well, because I've been to that facility. I have, and I've been to that facility, and we interviewed probably about 4 or 5 companies that have gone through the same process as what you're saying. So these aren't words, this is the reality, and it is a fabulous, fabulous location as well.
It's been a real success story. It's something we'd never done before. We wanted to offer it as a bespoke service, and that's why it's separate from our main business. So it's not just a bolt-on activity. We have Claire there that runs the facility. You've met Claire, obviously, and she looks after that. And we have a walk-in policy. You can literally just walk in with your components, and we'll have a look at them, and we'll offer you the best solution we can. And we're fortunate because as a business, we have the largest portfolio. So generally speaking, there isn't anything we can't measure. Very rarely we will say we can't do that because of the size of our portfolio.
Now, trends in the industry, this is a massive thing that I'm going to be asking people. 2018, I know you've got loads of new technology, and we are going to take you on a tour around the stand in just a few moments so you can see the technology. But what are you finding, trends, what's happening? Because we are going to see all of your latest technologies, but you're following those trends and you're ahead of those as well.
We try to be, we try to be at least level with those trends, if not. And they do change, And I think with what we've gone through the last couple of years with the pandemic, a lot of businesses have gone, we need to do things differently, skill is a real problem. And ultimately, a lot of our technology, we've tried to create it so it's easy to use. That's really, really important. Also, autonomy. Businesses need to be more adaptable. They need to have the better autonomy. So you'll see on our stand, we have a robot loading system. So people want to run their machines 24/7 now, but also the staff want to go home, but they want the machine to keep running. So what's really important now is that you can set up a machine, for example, load the thing, literally go home, come back in the morning, it's all done. But it's also that connectivity as well, because what people need is be able to do something with that data. We have a lot of technology that will collect a lot of data and a lot of information, and that is no good to you if you can't do something with it. So Hexagon as a business has, through acquisition and growth, brought businesses into Hexagon that allow us to take that data and do something constructive with that gives you actionable data that helps your business to develop and grow and to understand where you need to change things ultimately. So for us, we see a lot of pressure, pushing into autonomy, quicker, faster, leaner, manufacturing, really important. Everybody's been trying to drive the costs down. We know it's going up in price at the moment, so it's really important that a business is efficient. If a business wants to survive today, it has to be lean, it has to be efficient. And we offer those technologies that will help you to make your business efficient and lean.
Okay, so we're going to be heading over to see some of those technologies in just a few moments. It is Monday, it's the very start of the week, so there'll be lots of people who will be visiting this week. What would you like to say to them? And we are going to come back to you, John, at the end of the show as well. So what would you like to say to anyone who's watching right now, and why should they come and visit the stand?
Come and visit us, please, okay? Come to the show, visit us and everybody else. There are a lot of great companies here with a lot of great technology. Obviously, we'd like you to come to our stand first. We have coffee, we have donuts, you won't go hungry, you won't go thirsty. Come and talk to our guys and, we will help you. Everybody's welcome to come and see us. Please come and see. We have some exciting products, so come and see us.
What a great industry to be part of. Right, we're going to head over to Rowan now, who I believe is ready to go. And he's talking design and engineering, and then he's going to be talking about the production software. So thank you, John.
Thank you, Lizzie.
When it comes to simulation, the laws of physics have not changed, but some things certainly have. I'm going to be talking to Neville and Richard about design engineering software from Hexagon. First of all, Richard, what's changed in the past 30 years apart from the laws of physics?
The main thing is compute capacity and the software that we've developed over those many years in order to do simulation. So, simulation is doable faster and you don't have to be such an expert anymore.
So obviously 30 years ago you had draftsmen or draft people sat in big rooms making big design changes, and when you wanted to make a little design change it would take a very long time. So how does Hexagon offer some solution that makes this a much quicker process?
Well, we can carry out simulation of a product, basically predicting its performance, whether it be performance of the part, wing of an aeroplane, whatever it might be. We can do that really quickly. We can do it up front when the cost of change is very low. So we can make changes, iterate, what some people are calling a digital twin, and predict the effect of that design change quickly, really, before you've even drawn it. So
Neville, could you explain why this kind of software allows you to make changes while the cost is low, please?
Well, I guess ultimately, the technology is what we call associative type technology, and if you capture the knowledge and the intelligence within the system, then that gives you the opportunity to carry out many different iterations of particular design types and simulation types, so that ultimately you can carry out many more different, let's say, design type experimentations in a virtual environment, rather than wait until you get to a position whereby you manufacture the part and then have to find that it fails in its use.
Once you start cutting metal, it's quite hard to go back and change a design because it's already been made. There's nothing else. There's nothing you can really do about it. But because it's digital, it's a lot easier to handle. So can you explain how you deal? So that's product design. Can you explain how you optimize in manufacturing design, manufacturing process design, please, Richard?
Yeah, so we use the same sort of technology to simulate manufacturing processes. For example, digital printing. It's very easy. It's additive manufacturing. It's a hot topic at the moment, but it's very easy to print scrap. And printing scrap is expensive, even if it is digital printing. So we enable the simulation in a virtual environment of the printing process itself.
Can you hear me?
And other processes like welding, spot welding, sheet metal forming, bolt metal forming, and actually predicting the performance. In fact, we can simulate the printing of a part much faster than the actual printing of a part, run through some iterations so that when you come to finally print it, you get it right first or second time.
3D printing normally takes a very long time. I've got a cheap printer at home. I know it takes ages to make anything decent. So obviously, you guys are not trying to take the skill away from engineering though, because there's people with maybe 30 years experience in forging, in spot welding, in machining, in all these very, very specific sectors who have been doing it for a long time. And obviously your software, you need a bit of both. You need a bit of the analysis from the software, the physics modeling, but you also need a little bit of the engineer's skill that you can't really explain and model. So how can you explain how this software complements someone who has 30 years shop floor experience? They know exactly what they're doing, but this can maybe push them a little bit further.
Yeah, we find in practice it's a great partnership working with people with manufacturing experience from the shop floor, combined with an engineer with a virtual manufacturing process. Putting the two together is a really good combination, so we can try things out. The shop floor experience is invaluable. The guy will often have suggestions about, well, can we try this, can we try that? We can run those very fast in simulation. And once we break down that sort of communication barrier, often find a really productive combination between manual experience on the shop floor and virtual world.
Neville, could you explain what a production engineer on the shop floor who's been working machines for 20 years, can you explain what might be going on in their head when they see someone, maybe you guys come out on the shop and you try and explain to them that this software can help them as well? What's that situation like? What does it feel like?
Well, I guess ultimately the production engineer might first of all feel that his position is threatened because he might think that the technology has taken over his role, but absolutely not. As Richard has mentioned, the technology is actually there to complement the knowledge and the intelligence that's been, harnessed over many, many years that resides within the engineer. So, combine the two technologies, not only will allow him actually to do his job better and focus on the things that he was never really able to do in his day-to-day life.
30 years ago, doing some kind of FEA simulation or CFD was a painstaking process that only really was done by academics and I guess boffins, whereas because software's moved on so much in the past 30 years, it enables and it makes it a lot more accessible for anyone to do a little bit of FEA to make sure their part's going to do exactly what they say it's going to do.
Well, yeah, ultimately that is the way that the technology goes. So, people are now in a position to be able to really virtually simulate all of their parts, ensure that, when the part gets delivered through into manufacturing, we don't end up with all the warranty costs that are associated with parts failing in the field. So, ultimately, organisations are going to save a lot of time and money by implementing simulation throughout the entire design and manufacturing life cycle.
Well, if the viewers are enjoying the stream and if you've got any questions for Neville or Richard, you don't get to talk to these guys very often. They're obviously very busy driving around the UK. So if you've got any questions, please jump in on LinkedIn, on Facebook, put your questions on the stream and we'll ask these guys, or we'll ask Matt and Zoltan, who I'll be talking to in just a few minutes. Make sure you get your questions in. Brilliant. So can you guys explain a little bit about what a shop floor engineer might do if they've got a part that, okay, a normal square part that someone comes in, a little batch, they're not going to bother simulating it. But what kind of part might an SME come in through the door that they might want to take some FEA software from yourselves and do a bit of simulation on?
Well, from a manufacturing point of view, welding and additive are very popular areas at the moment. It's still very common, despite all those many years of experience. It's very common to produce scrap, essentially. With welding, you can produce parts that have defects in them, could be not to drawing. And as Neville mentioned, when you do that, essentially that's wasted money. So we can help just get that right, and very quickly as well, optimise the welding process, work with them to do that.
It's funny how you mentioned spot welding and additive, because additive is a growing sector, whereas welding's kind of been around for ages. Surely people kind of know all there is to know about welding, surely, Neville?
Well, I guess you would think so, but ultimately, at the end of the day, what you've got to consider is that we are still producing parts that are not fit for purpose. So and there's a lot going on in terms of the physics around actually doing the welding processes. So there's things that people don't understand. And if we can allow them to have sort of technology that allows them to get those manufacturing processes right the first time, that's going to be good for the organisation they're working within.
Definitely. And what I found is, well, as we described earlier, as you guys explained to me, and I stole one of your lines earlier, the laws of physics have not changed. But so as a result, kind of the hardware that you find, the parts that get made, they're all fairly similar because they're still optimizing for the laws of physics. But the software has changed dramatically, and it's changed, so it's more the processes are changing, not the parts themselves. So can you explain how, I guess, spot welding, you guys were talking about the deformation of a part that you guys might want to simulate, where otherwise someone might have to go through and actually do it to find out what's going to happen.
Yeah, so we can build a model of the part very quickly. We can take scan data from our colleagues with the scanning side, we can take drawing data, 3D CAD models. Our software is very oriented, and this is one of the things that is the breakthrough, is very oriented to manufacturing engineers. You don't have to be a finite element expert to run a welding simulation. So the multi-physics that's going on is all built into the software. So we can take that and simulate. We can take machine path data and so on to make the job setup easier, and essentially replicate that seam welding process, for example, replicate that in our software, run it very quickly, maybe a matter of an hour or a couple of hours, and turn around and get to some results to enable some decisions to be made about that process.
That's fantastic. So it's more about the engineering management, the design management, the process management, and not necessarily the part itself, because I guess engines have been the same design for the past 80 years-ish, give or take, maybe 100 years. It's just you're kind of slicing off 0.1%, 0.1% of optimization, and that's where normally someone can't even see that optimization. It only really exists in the software, I guess.
Well, actually, people are making dramatically different designs these days, and that's often through choices of new materials, advanced materials, and that's another area we specialize in, is helping to design with novel materials. I mean, in the 3D printing world, lattice structures where the inside of the part is mostly air, that's a difficult material to predict how it's going to behave. Also composite materials, so we specialize in digital simulation of materials, advanced materials as well, and this enables big step changes to be made in part design as well, so it's not always iterative.
That's a really good point, Richard. Obviously, if you make an engine block out of steel or aluminium, that's been done a million times before, but if you've got some new composite material, then you might have to do some very complex simulation just to make sure that it's going to do exactly what you want it to. Okay, can you also explain how, you were talking about generative design. Now, this is obviously quite a new field as well. It's producing parts that look a little bit like the part behind you just showed us. Can you explain what, actually, Neville, I've been asking you too many questions, Richard. I'm going to put you on the spot. So, Neville, could you explain what generative design is, please?
Well, I guess ultimately it's the ability to create new sort of like shapes and geometries that physically we couldn't really think of. Normally we think of typical type of 3D kind of parts, and they're very prismatic. They've got some nice curves and so forth. But with the generative design stuff, we're now able to produce parts that you couldn't have ever conceived of. And not only that, in the olden days, you couldn't even conceive of actually manufacturing those parts. But now, with additive manufacturing, we're able to create parts that are so complex they almost represent, almost like typical like bone-type structures within the body. But they allow us to take away lots of weight within the design. And ultimately, we reduce the material cost. And in some instances, actually, the performance of those parts is far superior to traditional parts that we would design using normal design-type techniques.
It's funny how it does look very organic, and yet that has been produced by a process that has not anything organic in it. It's just a computer, it's just an algorithm. But because of these simple rules, out comes this kind of complex, almost, it looks like you see those Boston Dynamics robots that kind of run around. It looks a little bit like that. It's absolutely fascinating. But right now, that would be a nightmare to machine. And additive manufacturing, it would take a while, wouldn't it? Do you think in the next, because obviously generative design, I've seen a few of these kinds of models around the place, but they're not making it into production cars, they're not making it into production airplanes yet. How long do you think it'll be until we can make something like this at scale in high enough volumes that it makes sense to make a car out of it?
I'm going to pick you up on that. They're fitting additive manufactured parts to aircraft right now.
Okay, fair enough, fantastic. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Neville. So we're going to go over and talk to Matt and Zoltan about production software. So thank you, guys. If you're interested in anything we're talking about today on the stream, make sure you send your questions in, and then we'll get them on the stream. We'll ask some of these very knowledgeable individuals. So Matt, we're going to be talking about production engineering today. So we've just talked about what happens before you cut any kind of before you cut any metal. Now we're going to talk about what happens when you cut metal. Now that is obviously a far more important topic, because that's actually making a part, Matt. Yep. So what portfolio did Hexagon offer? You guys are well known for metrology, but I mean, now you said you're the biggest CAM provider in the world. What did you guys actually do?
Thanks, Rowan. I think you've hit the nail on the head. We are the biggest CAM company in the world, and I think for a lot of our customers, they know us through individual brands within that portfolio, an Edge Cam or Visio, WorkNC, for example, and they know the metrology equipment, the fantastic design and simulation tools that we've talked about earlier. What really our kind of world-leading portfolio is about is actually being able to kind of leverage all of that technology and apply it to customer problems. So anybody who's out there today who maybe is visiting MACH, the biggest thing that we would say is actually, we don't want to show you buttons on a screen, we won't want to show you feature function, we want you to come and talk to us about the challenges, because as we kind of evolving through this kind of IR5 world, our customers are getting more and more complex challenges, and what the strength of our kind of broad portfolio is means that we've got a variety of different tools to be able to solve those complex problems.
Thank you. So Matt, obviously with the advent with expensive materials right now, with rising energy costs, it's all about trying to squeeze out that last piece of efficiency, which maybe you wouldn't be able to do by just trying to change your parameters on the shop floor. You need to start simulating this stuff, and you need to start optimizing your production process. So you're going to describe to me, I guess, can you explain how metrology and production, you described to me earlier, they're obviously normally quite separate departments. How are you trying to integrate those two?
Thanks, John. I think, again, when we talk about Hexagon, quite often internally we talk about the one Hexagon approach. And as you've seen over many years, the business has acquired all this fantastic technology with the aim of really bringing it together, because ultimately when we look at a customer scenario, these are not disparate problems that they have. They have to think about how they're going to design parts, how they're going to make parts, and how they're going to inspect parts. And fundamentally, if you think of those three disciplines completely separately, you're not going to have an aligned process, and you've got opportunity for issues within that mix. What we've been able to do as Hexagon is bring together metrology and production software into this environment where you have on-machine inspection, actually really bringing quality into the production process. And I'm very fortunate today in that I'm joined by the expert himself, Zolly, who really can speak in that topic in more detail. So Zolly, do you want me to hand over to you?
Thank you. Yes.
Brilliant. So Zoltan, you have been introduced to me as you're the product manager, but you've been introduced to me as the genius of metrology. Okay. Can you explain to me how Hexagon solves inspection problems on the shop floor, please?
Yes, I can. So a couple of years ago, once Hexagon acquired Hexagon, and we started to basically connect the dots. And from what we got feedback from the metrology colleagues is we have to start to measure also already on the machine. So we have to do process measurement, and what we did, we created HCAM inspection. And for HCAM inspection is you were able to create the tool passes. That's a really good offline programming, and we used basically PCDMS libraries to calculate and generate metrology reporting. And we started to work with customers, and they straight away gave us a feedback. They need some a little bit offline and online solution. So we decided to use HCAM, which is really good for offline programming, as you create the toolpath, you generate the inspection toolpath on machine measurement. So we are not just doing a CNC probing type of 3D touchboard measurement. We a little bit more, and then focusing on machine inspection, meaning you can measure complex multiple features, you can do GD&Ts, and then we can basically leverage on PCDMS knowledge. So you program it inside HCAM, you create the toolpath, generate the NC code, and then job done. After that, NC Server, which is a new product launched this year, was taking care of the metrology results coming from the CNC machine. NC Server basically using PCDMS technology in the background. They monitor multiple machines. You can connect Hexagon, Siemens, Fanuc controllers, and then once you program it via HCAM or directly from PCDMS, you can run your CNC machine running 24/7, and you will have continuously coming the metrology reports from your CNC machine. So this is you're trying to capture any following issues during the manufacturing, and not just realizing you have an issue after you manufacture the part.
Yeah, we were talking about the cost of a product design change before you even cut a part. There's also a cost of product design change after you've made a part. It's gone through the whole production process, and then you find out something's wrong with the first operation, and you're 20 operations in, and you want to send it out the door, but you can't because something's wrong. So bringing the inspection into the process, what kind of benefits do you get from that?
The main benefits what you will get, you're not trying to prove your process is wrong, but you can have different supplier for materials, you can have different suppliers for tools, and especially if you're doing a high volume production, those small changes can actually affect tolerances. And while you are doing measurements, then you get the feedback, and then you can respond to those data.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Zoltan. Genius Metrology. Now, you're going to be talking to Mark next about the actual metrology systems that Hexagon do. Over to Mark.
Now, this is really special. If you want to know about metrology, I'm with Steve. Now, Steve, you've been with Hexagon for over 10 years.
Over 10 years now, Mark.
And from my point of view, the Absolute Arm has been something of, I mean, we've been to Royal Enfield, we've also been to a certain Formula One company as well. But tell me a little bit about the arm and how versatile it really is.
Well, I think the key thing with it, Mark, is you see, if I take this off its end position now, the big thing is that it's always been we can take this to the part. So we never have any restrictions of, you know, you might have a big heavy part that you need to measure and take it into a CMM room. The ethos behind this is you take the arm to the part. So you see, you can see on here it's mounted very, very quickly on a base. You can see then we can rotate this very, very quickly anywhere we need to go. There's no restrictions. We can come in with the probe or the 3D scanner, and it's just a very, very fast way to measure any parts that you need to measure.
Now, obviously, shop floors, environments, how does it compensate for instance, the heat that sometimes is generated on a factory floor?
No, that's a great question. I mean, the arms are all completely sealed now, and just recently, the new launch of ARM, it's now IP54 rated, so that now pushes it to another level, is we can now use the arm in areas, you know, of moisture content and things like that, where that wasn't possible before. So that's another element to what we've got with the arm.
Now, a lot of people will actually sort of measure on the shop floor, but when you look at you say it's quite versatile. Give me an example where the Absolute Arm has actually given an advantage to a customer.
I think, again, if you take one of the F1 teams, for instance, you know, if you were looking to measure down the whole length of the car, we could put this arm on a tripod, and then you could actually measure down the whole length of the vehicle or the chassis to pick up some location points, and there's no restrictions on having to move the arm and realign. We can just do it all in one go.
And software's quite key, isn't it? Because obviously when you start, if you could start actually scanning, I mean, the software needs to be quite key for these type of products, don't they?
It does, yeah, and as you can see here, I'll talk while we're scanning, but literally on here you can see the example. We've got a 3D CAD model of the item we want to measure, and all we're doing now is just bringing the laser scanner over the part, and you'll see we're taking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of points a second to give a 3D point cloud, and that's aligning it straight over the top of the CAD to give me any deviation. So it's just very, very rapid way of measuring parts.
So really the philosophy of Hexagon, you're very much looking at the production design, obviously the software and the portfolio that you've got like EdgeCam and Visi and Radan, for instance. This really is the next step.
It is. I mean, this software now is PCDMAS, but we could load Visi on here and do reverse engineering. We've also got, you know, various other softwares we link with depending on what you need to do. So it's very, very versatile, and it's not just one software that we can use now. Big question. A lot of engineers will say, well, I've got a CMM, why would I buy this? No, that's a great question. I don't think this never replaces the CMM. It complements it in that we've got the portability. You know, we have the same software that we have on the CMM with the ARM. So any reports that you do are interchangeable. It's just you've got that extra element that you can take this to the part as opposed to the other way around. And tell me a little bit about the industries that you actually are selling the ARM into. I think in my area, I look after the southeast, so my main customers are the F1 teams or the mainstream, you know, automotive companies. But we're getting bigger now into medical, R&D, universities. So there's no real way where, you know, we say we have to go. It's any company really wants to measure or reverse engineer, we can help them. I think Hexagon is a great brand, but if you've got any questions for Hexagon, certainly Steve on the metrology side, please send those in and we can answer those, or Steve can actually after the live feed. But Steve, when you look at your ability in Hexagon, do you think you're sort of a one-stop shop? What, me myself? No, not you so much, but the Hexagon, when you go into a company and you look at a product. Because we have such a massive portfolio, we can go in now and whether the company's measuring parts, you know, really down to microns, or it's something a lot larger, we can go in and actually say, well, this is the right product for that particular job. And we don't have to just go in with one piece of kit, there's just multiples that we can use then. Put you on the point a bit. I know obviously the ARM is actually used on a lot of metallic parts, but can it actually be used, for instance, on plastics or composites? It can, yeah. Say the new AS1 laser we've got now is brilliant for really, really shiny parts. That was why that was developed, so that we have a patented what we call a shine technology within the RDS software, That then allows us to scan things that are really, really shiny, and we don't get any noise feedback coming back. And it's just, again, it's just a faster way to scan without any surface development or preparation, really.
I think the wonderful thing about this product is the fact that you've got the sort of ability to actually sort of understand the customer's needs. But could I also look at something else on your stand?
Please, yeah. Shall we have a wander over?
Because automation's very, very key in engineering. And what I'm quite interested to look here is, obviously, it looks like a blade of some kind, but this is showcasing Hexagon and automation.
It is. This is just as we've talked about a different piece of equipment, whereas the arm I was using is all manual, so I have to move that into position. You see here it's all completely automated. So there's still the same technology laser scanner on the end, but this would just have a pre-written program and you hit go. So this is just moving around and scanning that blade now, but it's all autonomous without having to have any interaction from the operator, really.
And do you see that sort of fitting into a lot of industries? Obviously you're looking at a blade, so it could be power generation or aerospace, but are you selling these into sometimes smaller companies as well?
Very much so, yeah. All the sort of, the tier 1, tier 2, all the big OEMs. It doesn't really matter if they've got a need to scan, as we say, a blade or whatever the part is. There's no real limitation where we sell now. It's, it could be 1 or 2 man bands up to big OEMs.
And I think the philosophy of the actual stand, obviously going from the production engineering, obviously the software, then you've got an array of different metrology solutions. I suppose the key point as well is that it's not just about the big SMEs that you're into, but it's also some of the smaller companies are starting to embrace a lot of your technology.
Definitely, they may have a scenario where if they want to try and get contracts at bigger companies, they may, discuss it with the OEM and they'll advise them which CMM, for instance, for this particular one they may need. Then they can help them to write the programs. They're using the same software, same programs go in with the parts when they're delivered, and it just sort of closes the loop, really.
So for any engineers obviously coming to MACH, watching our live stream effectively, if they really want a clear demo of a lot of your metrology solutions, what can you actually offer, Steve?
I think the main thing would be to make contact with us. We've got various regional centres, so you can come to one of the centres to have a demo, or with the portable equipment we can actually take that on site. So it's really down to what the customer's preference is, really.
Well, Steve, last 10 years touring around a lot of the subcontractors and some of the SMEs that we've been to with a lot of your technology on the metrology side has been absolutely fantastic. Thanks very much for your time. Over to Lindsay, and she's going to wrap the show up and talk to John a little bit about the actual basis of the stand and where they fit into the market.
Thanks for that. So hopefully you've had a really good insight as to what's happening here on the Hexagon stand. I'm back with John. You've also got a big coffee machine as well.
We do indeed, yes. We've got our own barista here today. He's here obviously all week. Again, do come across. We can have a free coffee, we've got donuts, we can do tea as well for those who like a cup of tea like myself. But come and have a coffee with us, come and have a chat, talk to us about some of your issues, some of your challenges that you're facing today, and let's see what we can do to help you with those, yeah? Absolutely. Of course, not everyone can make MACH, unfortunately, but that's what this is all about. This stream will be going live again, so we'll be having a hard copy on the website so you can have a good catch-up as to maybe if you've missed the beginning. If you have missed the beginning, let's have a little bit of a roundup with John. So, John, Sales Director of Hexagon, tell me why someone must visit your stand during MACH 2022. Obviously the coffee, very good. That's very important, obviously. But I think really what's important for everybody to come to this stand is that we have a great selection of products here from different softwares and hardware technologies that supports all sorts of industries, from small startup right through to the big blue chip companies. We have a plethora of different technologies that work all through the manufacturing process from start to beginning, from the design, from the simulation, through to the CAD/CAM, on-machine measurement and assessment of machine tools and things like that. We can do machine tool calibration systems as well. And then we have our traditional metrology inline or offline inspection. We have our automated systems for loading systems and autonomous measurements. And then we can also do analysis of that data as well. So a big part of what we do is to provide smart data to industry. Okay, and that's part of our mantra really, is to take data using different sensors and technologies, and taking that data and giving you something that's tangible, something you can use to improve your business, your processes, ultimately, every business needs to run lean these days. To be profitable, to be competitive in the market, you really, really need to be able to focus on where you can enhance your production processes as much as possible.
I always say if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And what you're saying is, you're entering that world of where, 4 or 5 years ago when I started at MTD, we were always talking about Industry 4.0. What the heck is it? And now we're actually at an event where we're talking about it. It's tangible. And if you can't measure it, of course, you can't improve it. Get that in your machine shop. And you were talking about autonomy as well, which is huge for yourself.
It is, yeah. I mean, the 4.0 thing was a buzzword for many years, and it meant different things to different people. And even today, it means different things to different people, obviously, and to us as well. But we've taken those sort of concepts of that technology, but have real-world application. Yeah. So we can take something where you can really use that in a real-world scenario. And the autonomy is a big part of that. On our stand today, for example, and this is why you should come to this stand, because we can really demonstrate some autonomy solutions. And the great thing about that, of course, is for a business that's trying to run lean, run efficiently, you take the person out of the equation to a degree. And it means that you can run 24/7 with a fully automated system. So it will measure it for you, or it will be loading or unloading for you, or just controlling your systems and your processes.
Look, if you've got any questions, this is what all of our lives are all about. Get those questions in and we will get them answered. We'll send them across to the team. We can ask the team live on the stream as well. We want to hear from you. I'm going to say this throughout the whole week because we've got different lives coming up throughout the day as well. We want to get you as close to the technology as possible. Case studies, you've got some very exciting case studies at the moment too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one that's very important to us is we touch a lot of different industry sectors, as well as small and large companies. We work in the aerospace, in the automotive. We're very big in the F1 and the motorsport and the supply chain there. We have an office in Silverstone, as you know, Lindsay. So we recently...
Can you just explain the office in Silverstone as well, just in case someone missed that at the beginning?
By all means, yeah. So what we have at Silverstone, we have a unique facility there that's really designed to support start-up businesses. So if you're a small startup business or a small OEM that's just moving into different technologies and you want access to technologies like Hexagon provides, but are not in a position to buy that today, we can provide a subcontract facility for you. So you can just call up Claire at our facility and come and have a chat, and we'll look to see how we can help you improve your process and how you can get access to our technologies. And then in the future, when you're ready, we will look to see how you can perhaps purchase something that suits your business.
And there's other locations around the UK, not just Silverstone that we've mentioned.
No, we have our main offices in Shropshire, and we have satellite places all around the country as well. And we have service centres as well. So you can come and visit us at this show. If you can't make it to this show, you can come and visit us at one of our tech centres as well. So go on our website, it tells you where we are.
Okay, just to finish off the story, the F1, which is super exciting.
Yeah, for us, this was a really great project for us. One of the areas that Hexagon is very strong is in powertrain. Okay, so that's from engines, gearboxes, transmissions. So that's a very big area for us. We have some dedicated machines and technologies. We even have a whole software designed just for powertrain metrology. And we're very strong in that space. And so most leading manufacturers use that. Certain F1 team has decided to move into manufacturing their own engine. We've been working with them, supporting them, and they recently made a large investment with us to create their own F1 engine for the future. Very exciting.
Very exciting. Great news from Hexagon. Right, we're going to have to finish it up there. So thank you for joining us. Any questions, we're going to send them on to the team as well. Make sure you are coming to MACH 2022 and visiting the Hexagon stand. I'll be back, I believe, in about an hour's time with yourselves for another live, but can we just say a massive thank you to everybody here at Hexagon and yourself there, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, everyone.